Greetings, explorers of the shadows and seekers of hidden truth. You are now in the portal of the unknown, where ancient mysteries and forgotten prophecies intertwine to reveal what many fear, the signs of the end of times. At every corner of human history, there is a silent echo that resonates, a warning whispered by those who came before us. These signs, disguised as symbols and metaphors, are scattered throughout forgotten scriptures, ancient traditions, and even prophecies that were intentionally concealed. But what if these signs aren't just warnings of what's to come? What if, in fact, they are a reflection of what is already happening right now? Humanity has always been drawn to the mystery of the future, eager to understand what lies beyond the veil of the present. But what is revealed when we look into the ancient texts that speak of the end of times? Are the answers we seek truly within our reach, or are we doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past, blind to the signs that surround us? Today, we will venture through these shadows, unearthing truths that have been buried by those who fear the power of revelation. The story we'll explore isn't limited to apocalyptic speculations, but delves into ancient accounts that attempt to explain how civilizations throughout the millennia have faced the catastrophes they call the end of times. Could the ancients have already foreseen our downfall, or are we simply seeing the reflection of the eternal cycle of destruction and rebirth? What do the hidden texts, such as the Book of Enoch, which were excluded from the Bible and hold keys to a deeper understanding, reveal? What do the lost prophecies of cultures that predicted catastrophic events, which eerily resemble today's wars, famine, and natural disasters, have to say? Here in the portal of the unknown, we're not just curious about the last days, but we seek the truth about what they truly mean so that we can be more prepared to face them. The end of times is not a distant or future event, but a cycle that constantly repeats. Every ending is also a new beginning, and each sign of destruction carries within it the seed of renewal. Could we be witnessing just another cycle of destruction and renewal, or is the end of time something more definitive? The truth, my friends, is more complex than simply waiting for an apocalypse. And if we really want to understand what lies ahead, we need to start looking at the signs that are happening right before our eyes, in the small changes that shape our everyday reality. The signs may be more subtle than we imagine. They aren't just global disasters or natural cataclysms, but changes in the hearts and minds of people, a growing disconnection from spirituality and the essence of humanity. We are witnessing a retreat from fundamental values, an acceleration of social and political divisions, and unease that seems to be spreading across the globe. Perhaps, like the ancient apocalyptic texts, the signs aren't just cosmic events, but the internal and external conditions that indicate something great is about to happen. The transitional era we live in today might be the stage for what many prophesied as the end of a cycle, but are we prepared for what comes next? The answer, my friends, may be simpler than we imagine. The true end of times begins within each one of us. To understand the signs of the end, we first need to understand what is happening inside our souls, in our hearts and minds. Spiritual awakening is the key to deciphering these signs and understanding what the future holds for us. As the chaos seems to intensify outside, it's time to look within, to what is being unveiled in the shadows of our being. After all, the greatest mysteries are never hidden in a distant future, but right before our eyes, waiting to be discovered by those brave enough to look beyond the surface and seek the truth in the depths of the unknown. Since the dawn of humanity, signs have been left as marks upon time, warnings for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. These signs, eternal in their essence, stretch across diverse cultures and sacred texts, like pieces of a cosmic puzzle waiting to be assembled. The Bible, as a coded map, offers us clues about what is to come, but only for those who are capable of understanding its depth. The apocalyptic accounts found within the scriptures are not merely predictions of catastrophe, but warnings in the form of symbols, metaphors, and visions, challenging us to decipher the hidden meaning behind each word. Throughout the sacred pages, a pattern repeats itself, a spiral of cycles that always lead to the same question. What will we do in the face of the darkness that approaches? Wars, famine, natural disasters, the increase of iniquity, Each of these events echoes the words left in the scriptures, not only as predictions of an inevitable end, but as signs of an ongoing process, both external and internal. The external chaos reflects the internal chaos of humanity, and it is in this distorted mirror that we see the reflections of a world on the brink of destruction. The scriptures do not merely speak of physical disasters, but of a subtler destruction, one that happens in the souls of men. War, famine, and calamities are not just manifestations of a society in collapse, but signs of an ever-growing separation from spirituality, self-knowledge, and true connection to the divine. Each conflict, each cataclysm, each tragedy is an opportunity to awaken to the deeper truth that lies beneath the surface of material reality. In passages like the Book of Revelation, we find powerful visions of destruction and rebirth. Those who read these texts with attentive eyes will see more than a simple prediction of catastrophe. They will see an invitation to inner transformation. The increase of iniquity, for instance, is not just about a world where people commit acts of violence and injustice, but about a world where spiritual truths are distorted, where fundamental values are ignored in the name of materialism and the relentless pursuit of power. The rise of sin is not just an escalation of destructive behavior, but a growing disconnection from universal truth, divine love, and ancient wisdom. The Bible, in its many forms and interpretations, serves as a reminder that we are always on the edge of a new cycle, a new awakening, or a new fall. The signs that the end times are approaching are not only external events, but also a matter of personal and collective transformation. What we see around the world, wars, plagues, environmental destruction, are manifestations of a collective spirit that is in some way out of harmony with itself and with nature. But at the same time, these signs are also a reflection of the possibility of redemption, for destruction always precedes creation, and the end of one cycle can be the beginning of a new awakening. When we look at what is to come, we must bear in mind that prophecies and signs are not meant to frighten us, but to awaken us. They are reminders that destiny is not fixed, that the course of events is not determined solely by external forces, but also by our internal choices. Spiritual awakening, the search for truth, and the understanding of the divine nature of existence are the keys that will allow us to navigate these times of uncertainty and lead us to a place of renewal and transcendence. We are not just living in a world on the edge of the end, but in a world on the edge of a new beginning, a beginning that will depend on our ability to see beyond the shadows and recognize the signs that even now are calling us toward the truth. Since the dawn of humanity, signs have been left as marks in time, warnings for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. These signs, immortal in their essence, spread across various cultures and sacred texts like pieces of a cosmic puzzle waiting to be assembled. The Bible, as a coded map, offers us clues about what is to come, but only for those who are capable of comprehending its depth. The apocalyptic narratives we find in the scriptures are not mere predictions of catastrophe, but warnings in the form of symbols, metaphors, and visions, challenging us to unravel the hidden meaning behind every word. Throughout the sacred pages, we see a pattern repeating itself, a spiral of cycles that always culminates in the same question. What will we do in the face of the darkness that approaches? Wars, famine, disasters, the increase of iniquity. Each of these events echoes the words left in the scriptures, not merely as predictions of an inevitable end, but as signs of an ongoing process that intertwines with humanity's struggles throughout time. The chaos we witness today, the international conflicts that arise each new day, are not isolated phenomena, but a manifestation of something much deeper. The confrontation of nations and kingdoms, ideologies, and systems of power is a battle that reflects the internal struggle of every human being. A spiritual war in which light and darkness, truth and lies, love and hate clash ever more visibly. In every war that begins, in every territorial or political dispute, there exists a reflection of this greater struggle, one fought within us and the societies we build. Famine, plagues, and earthquakes, which Jesus also mentions, are more than just natural or social disasters. They are symbols of an increasing dissonance between mankind and the world around them. Famine is not only the scarcity of food, but the scarcity of essential values, compassion, and spiritual connection. Plagues, whether physical or spiritual diseases, reflect a state of poor health within humanity, not just in biological terms, but also in emotional and spiritual ones. What are plagues but manifestations of a world that has drifted from truth and natural harmony, allowing negative forces to take shape and cause destruction? And earthquakes, which shake the earth, can be seen as a reflection of humanity's inner instability, increasingly divided, unstable, and disconnected from its divine purpose. If we look carefully at these signs, we see that far from being random phenomena, they are expressions of a prophetic cycle unfolding before our eyes. Jesus, in his wisdom, was not merely warning us of cataclysmic events that would occur in a distant future, but calling us to recognize that these events are already in motion, happening at an accelerating pace, like a storm about to reach its peak. The true purpose of these words is not fear or dread, but a call to awaken to a new reality, an urgent invitation to prepare for what is to come, and more importantly, to understand what these catastrophes mean on a spiritual level. Each event described in Matthew 24 is an opportunity for us to reflect on our spiritual condition and our relationship with the world. They are not just predictions of an end, but an opportunity to reevaluate our choices, our values, and our connection to the divine. The world is in a state of transition, and each of us has a role to play in this process of transformation. How can we respond to the signs? How can we, in the face of war, famine, plagues, and natural disasters, find the wisdom necessary to walk through this chaos? The secret lies in looking inward, in recognizing the true nature of the reality around us, and in preparing ourselves not only physically but spiritually for the inevitable changes. Therefore, the signs that Jesus mentioned are not merely messages of warning about future events, but calls to action in the present. They beckon us to break free from the illusions that blind us, to live more in alignment with our divine purpose, and to prepare ourselves both materially and spiritually for the challenges that lie ahead. The prophetic puzzle that is unfolding before our eyes demands that we be attentive, conscious, and ready for what is about to be revealed, because by doing so, we not only gain a better understanding of the world around us, but also acquire the wisdom needed to transform chaos into an opportunity for spiritual growth. The prophet Daniel also saw a time of unrest. In chapter 12, verse 4, he wrote, "Many will run to and fro, and knowledge will increase." This vision of Daniel, seemingly from a distant time, sounds more relevant than ever. The rapid increase in knowledge that he predicted is unfolding before our eyes, but the question that arises is, what does this multiplication of science truly mean? As the world advances into an era of unprecedented discoveries, it seems that we are not only reaching new technological frontiers, but also approaching a thin line that separates humanity's evolution from its own destruction. Never before in history has knowledge grown so quickly. Artificial intelligence, which once seemed like a futuristic concept from science fiction, is now part of our daily lives, making decisions, creating solutions, and even taking on complex tasks. AI not only replaces human functions, but begins to generate new forms of intelligence that do not exist in the biological world, challenging the limits of what we understand as consciousness and life. Likewise, the exploration of the human DNA, a field once confined to theoretical science, is now in full swing. The secrets of life are being unveiled at an alarming rate, offering the promise of miraculous cures, but also raising ethical and spiritual questions that were once unimaginable. And as science advances, new forms of power and control emerge. Global surveillance systems, information manipulation, and the centralization of data are being implemented to monitor and govern on an unprecedented scale. These systems seem to be the pieces of a puzzle that Daniel, in his vision, foresaw. A scenario where technology and control become instruments of both salvation and oppression. All of this points to a scenario of apocalyptic convergence, a moment when the advancement of science and the rise of control systems could lead us to a point of no return. What Daniel saw and predicted as an increase in knowledge, but also growing unrest, is not merely an increase in information or scientific discoveries, but a disconnect between the speed of progress and humanity's ability to deal with the spiritual and moral implications of these innovations. As humanity adjusts to this new world of possibilities, where control over life, health, intelligence, and even human decisions may rest in the hands of a few or artificial intelligence systems, the line between good and evil, progress and destruction, becomes increasingly difficult to discern. Daniel saw a time of turmoil, but he also predicted that, in the end, there would be a moment of revelation and judgment. The multiplication of knowledge and science is not just humanity's advancement into the future, but also an opportunity for a collective spiritual awakening. Knowledge by itself is not the key to salvation, but the discernment of how to use it will define the path to redemption or downfall. In times of great technological advancement and increasing science, we are called to reflect not only on the benefits, but also on the spiritual costs of this unchecked progress. Knowledge without wisdom, science without consciousness, could be the seed of destruction we see spreading throughout the world. As Daniel's vision suggests, the multiplied science also brings with it the opportunity to seek a deeper knowledge, an understanding not just of the external world, but of ourselves, our divine purpose, and our role in the cosmic balance. True wisdom, then, lies not just in technological innovations or the power of control they offer, but in our ability to integrate these advances harmoniously with the spiritual and moral values that guide the human soul. What we witness in our time is an incessant race to unlock the mysteries of the universe and dominate the forces of nature. But as warned by Daniel and other prophets, true knowledge is that which elevates us spiritually, connects us to divine light, and prepares us for the challenges of a constantly changing world. And what about the heart of humanity? Paul warned us in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1-3, "But know this, that in the last days perilous times will come, for men will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving." These words of Paul, which have echoed through the centuries, resonate alarmingly in the contemporary world. If these characteristics were once signs of humanity being distant from its true essence, now they seem to be the rule rather than the exception. Selfishness dominates relationships, the pursuit of status and material wealth replaces spiritual values, and the lack of empathy and compassion for others' pain has become a defining mark of our society. Modern society, with all its technology and progress, seems to have strayed from the essential. Love has cooled, not in the sense that there are no longer feelings of affection, but in the depth and sincerity with which that love is expressed. Instead of selfless love, we see selfish love, seeking personal gain, reduced to superficial and disposable relationships. The idea of sacrifice for another, of solidarity, and of true friendship has lost strength in a world that values what is quick and ephemeral. Social media, for example, while connecting us with the world, also distances us from authentic human relationships, turning the value of interaction into just a number of likes or followers. And what was once considered sacred is being profaned. Spiritual, religious, and ethical values that sustained civilizations for millennia are being questioned, relativized, and often ridiculed. Spirituality is seen by many as outdated or unnecessary, replaced by fleeting ideologies and an endless pursuit of material pleasure. Morality, once firmly anchored in universal principles, is now shaped according to the conveniences of the moment, generating instability in the foundations upon which humanity should be built. Respect for life, human dignity, and divine creation has been gradually disregarded as consumerism and the thirst for power take center stage. However, what is alarming about this scenario is not just the profanation of the sacred, but the total disconnection of humanity from its true essence. Human nature was designed for love, compassion, and the search for the divine. But as Paul warned, the era we are living in is one of self-centeredness, of extreme egoism. This shift in the heart of humanity is not just a reflection of social behavior, but a symptom of a profound detachment from authentic spirituality. The pursuit of power, money, and recognition without considering the spiritual consequences has generated a society where the human soul is sick, lost in an endless cycle of dissatisfaction and existential emptiness. If we take a step back and observe the world in which we live, Paul's description becomes almost a perfect mirror of our current reality. The values that once upheld humanity are being systematically eroded, and spirituality which should be the foundation for restoring human hearts, is seen by many as a distant utopia. What was considered sacred, from family institutions to the most fundamental moral principles, now faces constant attack, being replaced by ideologies that deny both the divine and human essence. But perhaps Paul's warning is an invitation to reflect on our own condition and on what we can still do to reverse this situation. The selfishness that dominates the human heart can be challenged by practicing true love, genuine compassion, and the search for a deeper connection with the divine. In the midst of chaos, individualism, and the destruction of spiritual values, there is still the possibility to restore the human heart by rediscovering what is sacred and worth preserving. The time for reflection is now, because the signs are clear. We need to change, not just as a society, but as individuals. If we want to see a transformed world, restored to its original purpose, where love, humility, and spirituality return to occupy the place they always should have. But there is an even more alarming sign. In Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 17, it is written, "And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, so that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark." This prophecy, recorded millennia ago, seems increasingly relevant as the world moves closer to a new economic and social order, where control over human life is centralized in interconnected technological and financial systems. What once seemed like a symbolic and distant image is now unfolding as an increasingly tangible reality. What do we see today? A global system of economic control rapidly taking shape. Digital currency, biometric identities, and an increasing dependence on technology for human existence are becoming the foundations of this new world order. Governments, corporations, and even private platforms are implementing digital payment systems, which are increasingly reliant on biometric identifiers, such as fingerprints, facial recognition, and even iris scanning to authorize transactions. The concept of free will regarding the economy, where you could buy and sell at your discretion, is gradually being replaced by a system that demands strict control over every individual. Those who refuse to comply with this new order may be marginalized or excluded from financial and social systems. It will no longer be possible to live without the system's approval, without the digital seal that defines your identity in the new world. As the transition to digital currency progresses, we also see the rise of constant surveillance of personal life. Everything will become digital, from purchases to banking information, health data, and even personal relationships. The interconnectedness between technology and mass control systems is so vast that questioning its legitimacy or resisting it could result in exclusion from various aspects of daily life. This process is being enhanced so that individuals who once had a margin of freedom to operate outside the system are now being forced to adopt this new reality to ensure their survival. The question is, are we aware of the magnitude of this transformation and the implications it carries? Or are we being swept along by a tide of convenience and misinformation, blind to the risks it imposes? Indeed, the total dependence on technology, once seen as progressive and advantageous, now raises serious concerns. Technology in its evolution brings with it both promises of advancement and the weight of control and loss of freedom. While innovation offers us conveniences and comfort, it also creates an environment where privacy is sacrificed and individual liberties are gradually diminished. The sign mentioned in Revelation may not be literal, but the idea of a system that controls human transactions and an individual's very identity through technology is no longer a fantasy. It is becoming an increasingly tangible reality. Moreover, the fact that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark points to total control over the means of subsistence. Imagine a scenario where your ability to buy food, medicine, or any essential good depends on a centralized system that decides who has access to these resources. This is the future we are creating, a world where your existence, your freedom, and even your identity can be determined by a system controlled by a few. In an apocalyptic scenario, the fundamental question is no longer whether you have money or possessions, but whether you have permission to exist within the system. Technology, once seen as an ally of freedom, transforms into a tool of domination. The convergence of digital currency, biometric identities, and social control via technology is unfolding before our eyes. And with it, humanity stands on the edge of an era where privacy, autonomy, and individual freedom may be entirely subverted by an all-encompassing invisible system. The warning in Revelation 13 is not a mere metaphor. We are perhaps closer than we realize to a scenario where the ancient signs of apocalyptic control, once seen as remote, are beginning to take form and substance. What the Bible predicted centuries ago may be becoming a reality in the modern world, and the question that remains is, are we prepared to recognize the signs and protect ourselves from what is to come? Or will we be consumed by an age of absolute control, where the human spirit loses its freedom before a ruthless and dehumanizing system? But most importantly, these signs were not given to scare us, but to prepare us. Jesus told us in Luke chapter 21, verse 28, "Now when these things begin to happen, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near." These words, full of hope and light, are a call to vigilance, but also to trust. We should not view the coming difficult times as an inevitable destiny of despair, but as an opportunity to spiritually prepare to align ourselves with the divine truth and wisdom that have always guided us. Jesus' message is clear. Even in the midst of tribulation, even when the signs of the end seem overwhelming, there is a call to elevation, to the pursuit of redemption. Look up, he tells us. This is not just simple advice of hope, but a guide for us not to get lost in the distractions and fears of the world. When the signs intensify, the growing oppression, natural disasters, economic crises, our natural tendency may be to look down at the chaos and circumstances as if we are being consumed by them. But Jesus challenges us to do the opposite, to look up, to lift our heads not only as a physical gesture, but as a spiritual attitude of trust in something greater, something that transcends the immediate difficulties. The world is in constant change, and what once seemed solid is now being shaken. But the promise of Jesus is our anchor. Redemption is not just a distant hope, but a reality that is about to be revealed in our lives, if we keep our faith firm and our vision directed to the divine. The signs we see around us are not an end, but the beginning of a new chapter where justice and truth will prevail. The invitation is for us to be spiritually prepared so that instead of fearing, we can embrace the changes as an opportunity to draw closer to God, to our true essence, and to the divine purpose for our lives. It is important to understand that while the apocalypse is often seen as a catastrophic event, it also carries the promise of renewal and restoration. The end of an era of corruption and deceit may, in fact, be the beginning of something new and more glorious. What seems like destruction to the material world is, in reality, purification, a process of preparation for the manifestation of the eternal kingdom. What we need to do now is keep our hearts and minds aligned with this truth, not letting ourselves be led by fear or hopelessness. When chaos increases, that is when we must trust the promise that our redemption is near. This perspective changes the way we view the events that are happening and those yet to come. It is not just about physical survival, but about a spiritual awakening, an opportunity to transcend fear and uncertainty. What human eyes see as a catastrophe, the spirit can perceive as a rebirth. And it is this rebirth, this awakening to the truth, that connects us to the promise of redemption that Jesus left us. When these signs begin to manifest, instead of being consumed by anxiety and panic, we must look up, focus on the divine light that never fades, and remember that we are on a path of transformation, a preparation for what is to come. In times of crisis, the words of Jesus become a beacon of hope. Redemption is not a vague promise, but a concrete reality being revealed every day as we fulfill our role in the spiritual journey. Looking up is an act of faith, a recognition that there is a higher purpose in the midst of all the turbulence. This look is not only for the future, but also for within ourselves, where true transformation must take place. As the world around us disintegrates, our soul has the opportunity to be restored, and this process of restoration is the true path to redemption. We are on the threshold of a new era. Each passing day accelerates time, and the warnings become impossible to ignore. What once seemed distant and enigmatic is now drawing closer, and the signs of transformation are becoming increasingly evident. The tension builds, and the global events reflect the ancient words of the prophets, echoes of the past warning us about the future. The world around us is changing at an unprecedented speed, and the question that lingers in the air is, are you prepared for what's to come? Preparation is not just physical. It is not just about surviving a societal or economic collapse. True preparation is spiritual. It requires you to open your eyes to the signs, to understand the times, and to align with the wisdom and truth that have been revealed through the ages. What's coming is not a mere historical event. It's a cosmic change, a transformation that affects not only the material world, but also the depths of the human soul. The big question is, do you have eyes to see and ears to hear? Are you willing to set aside the distractions of the modern world and turn your focus to what truly matters? Because time is running out and the signs are here, waiting to be interpreted by those brave enough to seek the truth. If you want to continue this journey and uncover the darkest secrets of the scriptures, subscribe to the Portal of the Unknown. Together, we will explore the ancient mysteries and hidden truths that have been forgotten by the ages. The path will be challenging, but the reward will be unmatched. Time is running out, and the truth awaits those who dare to seek it. This is the moment to awaken, to understand the signs, and to prepare for the era that's to come. Don't miss the opportunity to be part of the journey that can transform your life and reveal the hidden purpose behind everything happening in the world. The truth is within your reach. All you have to do is reach out and accept it.